Hey there, what's going on? Basir here, back again with another new video. And in this video, we are going to cover all of the following 27 JavaScript array methods. So bear with me till the end and let's get started. Alright, so down here, I already created some array examples that we will be using them throughout this entire tutorial. And then as you can see, I commented out the array method, and down below there, I provided a short description or note concerning that array method. So starting from the first one, which this array, let's do this output 1 array of 10. So it accepts an integer argument and it's going to create that array. So if I output this ot1 and run that, you can see that it created an array of 10 empty items. And if you want to see each of these items individually, well, what you can do is see ot for output. All right, then excuse me, that was json.stringify, and pass in this ot1 and run that. Now you can see there is this array with 10 empty items. All right, so going to the second array method, which is this from. So we use this method to create an array from an iterable. All right, so iterable, anything that can be iterated in JavaScript, that's an iterable. In this case, Basir, this is an iterable. And this example says to create an array from Basir. So how you do that is, let's create this third example, array.from, and pass in this Basir, and let's output that and run that. You can see that it created an array with each character of that is an array element. Okay, so let's move this up a little bit right there. And then down here, it says create an array of numbers starting 1 all the way to 10. So again, you can use array.from. As you can see, the name of that is pretty much self-explanatory. It says that create an array from this one. And then right here, I can pass in this 10. And this the second argument of that, this is a callback function that's going to get called upon each of those array elements individually. So underscore, which stands for void or nothing, and I for index. These are the default one. And then I plus 1. Now if I store it in a variable, let's call that as ot4 for output 4, and there we go, and run that. Now you can see it created an array of elements starting from 1 all the way to 10. All right, so that's perfect. Let's remove that. And then down here we have this isArray method. isArray method accepts one argument and returns whether it's an array or not. Let's see that in action. ot5, which stands for output 5. Let's see array.isArray and pass in the argument, which is this one right here, and output this and run that. Then you can see it returns true because this one is an array. But if I pass in this str right here and run that, it returns false because this is not an array. All right, let's comment this out and go down here in the next example. So as you can see from the description, it says that it returns the element of the array at a given position. So let's go with example array. Actually, this works as such that you're gonna this time pass in the array variable and then say @tree. All right, so now if I output this ot6 right here and run that, then you can see it returned banana. And if I just go all the way up right here, you can see that fruits index of 3, what was that? 0, 1, 2, 3. So the index of 3, that is banana, and that it worked perfectly fine. Let me just comment this out and actually put it right here, there. So now you can see index of 3, that is banana, and that's the output right there. You can pass in 2 and run that. This time it should be cherry. And that it is. All right, then we have this concat method, which is used to concatenate two arrays. Let's see that in example. So I'll say array1.concat array2. And now if I output this ot7 and run that, now you can see this time it concatenated and connected these two arrays. And now it's only one array with those elements of the array1 and array2 combined. Let me comment this out and this one as well. I think I need to copy this because down here we will need that. All right, so then we have this every method. So this method is a little bit different from the others because this accepts a test function and it checks all the array elements individually. And if all the array element pass that test function, then it returns true. Otherwise, it's going to return false. Let's see that in action. Well, this is not a good example for that. Let's actually, well, I'm going to put it right here by comment this out. So let's run a function and check if all of these are greater than and equal to 100. So I'll say const of the result, and this time numbers 2 dot every, and every one of these elements I'm checking if the element is greater than and equal to 100. And let's see the result for that and run that. Well, there is an error right here for this one, I believe. Well, this has to be commented out. Let's rerun that. You can see that it returned true because all of these array elements are greater than 100 except the first one, which is equal to 100. But now if I just remove this equal sign, which in this case this test function is going to be true for all of these except the first one, this is going to return false. Now run that. You can see it returned false because the first one didn't pass the test function. All right, so if I put that equal sign back again right here, then you can see this time it returns true, which means that all of those passed this specific test. However, there is another method which is the inverse or the reverse of that. Let's see this. What is that? This is the sum method. So let me just copy all of these and paste it down here. So this one also accepts a function and returns a boolean or returns, well, this has to be returns true if at least one of the elements of the array passed the test. All right, so if at least one of those passed the test, then this is gonna return true. So now if I just copy this and comment those out, then down here and replace this with sum and run that, now you can see it returned true. Well, that should return true. Let's actually change this to 500 and run that. It returns true because this test function is going to be false for the first 3 elements, actually 4 elements, and then it's going to be true for the rest of that. So if at least there is one element of the array that passes that function, is going to return true, at least one of the elements. All right, so that was it for sum method, and let's go down below right here for fill method. So fill is pretty much straightforward. It accepts 3 arguments. The last 2 argument is optional, as the first argument is the value that we need to fill in that array with. So I'm gonna, for example, create a sample array right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 5, and then right here, let's say sample array dot fill abc. All right, now let's output this sample array and run that. Now you can see that all of those are filled with ABC that we provided right here. And then it also accepts the other 2 arguments as well. And if I pass in 0 all the way to 2 and run that, now you can see only the first and the second element of the array is filled with ABC, but the rest of that is not filled. And remember that this 2 right here, this is exclusive. It is not inclusive. It means that the last array index that we passed in right here, this is not included. However, according to what we write right here, it should have also filled this 4 with ABC, but it didn't because 2 is exclusive. All right, so going down right here, then there is this filter method. So this is a very important one. Well, you use this method in order to filter the array of elements based on a function, based on a test function that you are providing. So let's see, filter array 1 to 100 by even numbers. So should I create it or just copy it again? Let me just cut this off of here and go down here. There we go, and paste that in. So if you remember from the earlier example, in the first two array methods. I told you what's going on in here. Array.from, well, basically it's going to create an array from an iterable, in this case length of 100, and I plus 1 is going to just create an array of 1 to 100. And if I run that, let's see, save it and run that, well, what's wrong? 1 to 100 is not defined. Okay, there we go. So you can see that 1 to 100, using this simple one-liner, I created an array of 1 all the way to 100. And if you're wondering how I created this console.log right here, you can go to the extensions and searching for console. I believe it's called Turbo Console. There we go, Turbo Console. So this helps us a lot. Sometimes it is very fast. You just have to select the variable and press in the option, command and L. In my case, it's gonna just return or create this one. So you can see that this is an array of 1 to 100. And now let's filter this only by even numbers. We want to take out the even numbers only. So let of the output that's equal to 1 to 100 dot filter. It's gonna filter. It's gonna take in the array element. It's also gonna take the index and the array as well, but in this case we don't need them for now. Well, let's say element, this modulus 2 is equal to 0. Well, if that is true, then this is gonna pass in all of those in the output array. And now if I just output this and save it and run that, well, what's wrong? Save and run that again. Now you can see it created an array of all the even numbers. All right. Okay, so here there is this 2, 4, 6 all the way to 98 and 100, and that is how we use this to filter array elements. All right, so now let's go to the next array method, which is the find method. Okay, so the find method, it accepts a test function and return the element that passes that test function. Okay, so here we already have this example. It says find people whose name ends with R. Now we're gonna run this find function on that. Well, output 2 and people dot find, which each of the element dot ends with. All right, ends with R. And now if I output this here and run that, what is wrong? Here it says that people dot find, people is not defined. How is that not defined? Okay, there we go. Now run that, and you can see that here it returns the array element that passes this function. Okay, so this is the test function, which was checking the which of these array elements ended with R. And now if I check for n, this should return John. All right, so the next method is findIndex method, which is pretty much identical to find method, but instead of returning the value, this is going to return the index of that array. And this is better used with an array of objects, because the first argument of this is going to be a function, and therein we are going to pass in the test function and check which one is going to return true. Let me show that to you in action. So I'll go with output 8, I believe, and then say employees dot find index, and then there is this element. It also accepts the index and the array, and then we're gonna say that element dot name is equal to Mari, right? Mari. And then if I output this and run that, then you can see the output of this one, it is 2, 0, 1 and 2, because the name of that is equal to Mari. All right, so remember that findIndex is better used with an array of objects. So let's just comment this out right now along with this one. And then the next array method is the flat method. All right, so this is gonna take one argument and flats the array based on the argument that we are passing in. Well, usually that argument is gonna be a number. So let's say here we have this array flat, and within that there is this array, and within this array there are other nested arrays. Well, we want to flat them out. So how do you do that? Let's say const of output are flat, and say array flat dot flat, and here we're gonna pass in that depth. All right, let's then output this right here and run that, save it. Then now you can see that we have only one array nested within this array, and the other two arrays that were nested within, they are now gone. All right, so that was for flat method. And then down here we have this for each method. Well, this one accepts a function that will call for each of the elements of the array. So there are some differences between for each and map. Have we covered map yet? We haven't yet covered that, but just a note, the for each method, this doesn't return anything. However, map method, it returns the output. So we'll get to that in a bit, but let's see the example right here. It says multiply each element of the array with 10. So I'm going to create an array of numbers, numbers 1, and let's call this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then down here numbers 1 dot for each, and then num, it also accepts the index and also the array right here, but in this case we don't need them. Well, whatever. Then numbers, yeah, actually we can use that. So numbers of I, and then here number plus, excuse me, times 10. And then if I just go and log this down here, save that and run that, well, let's see. It says line 10, 20, 30, and 40. Well, what is wrong? Numbers 1. Yeah, well, I forgot to pass in this one right here. Now what? Yeah, you can see that this is 100, 200, 300, 400, and each of these elements is actually multiplied by 10. So just to know that for each and the other methods that we have covered earlier, and the same as that, findIndex and find, all of these are accepting a function as an argument, and the return value of them are different. However, in here for each, it doesn't return anything at all, and we are using this basically to do some operations, some mathematical calculations, stuff like that. All right, so let's comment this out and go to the next array method, which is this indexOf method. So as I told you guys earlier, the method which was findIndex, this accepts a function as an argument, and then we are using this method for array of objects. However, this indexOf, this could be used on a simple flat array. So let's create an array, whatever. This could be 20, 30, 40, and then here if I output the result of flat array dot indexOf, well, indexOf 30, and then output the result and run that, then you can see the output is 1. All right, this is 0 and that is 1, and this is the output. So this is how it works. You just pass in the array element, and then this is going to return the index of that array element within that array. So perfect. Then let's go to the next one, which is the lastIndexOf. Well, this is basically the same as indexOf, but instead of returning the least index number, this is gonna return the largest index number. So if we had something like another 30 right here and then 50, and let me actually copy this, let's duplicate it, or just comment this out as well. And this time if I say like result is equal to flat array dot lastIndexOf 30, now this time this is not gonna look at this, it's gonna actually overlook that and go right here starting from the last one. Now if I output the result, you can see that this is returning 3, which is 0, 1, 2, 3 right there. And if I use this indexOf method right here, There we go, and run that, then you can see the result is 30, but lastIndexOf is gonna start from the right side to the left side. All right, in other words. So that's perfect. Now let's go to the next array method, which is map method. So earlier, if you remember, I said there is this forEach method that's gonna loop through each of the array elements, and basically map is doing the same too, is looping through each of the array element individually. But what is the difference is that map method, it returns another array. So let's take that example. If I just go a little bit up, I think there it is. I'm gonna copy this and then comment that out and go to map method right here. Put it right here. So we have this array numbers 1 starting from 10 to 50. So this one result, and this time if you want to multiply each of these by 10, we now don't have to actually mess with the actual or the real array. We don't want to mess with this one. What we could do in here is we can return numbers times 10, and if I output this result and run that, all right, what's wrong? Numbers 1 dot, yeah, this is map. You can see that I just forgot to replace this forEach with map, and you can see forEach is not returning anything and the return value is undefined. But if I replace this with map, save it and run that, now you can see it returns the value, and now each of these array element is multiplied by 10. In this case, 100, 200, all the way to 500. All right, so the next method is reduce method. Well, basically, this also loops through each of the array elements, but this one is going to reduce the arrays or the array to one single number or single array. It could be also in a string. Let's take this as an example again and comment that out. Then down below right here, let's say we want to reduce all of these to a single array and actually sum them up, and then constant of results. Then let's say numbers of 1 dot reduce, and this takes in the previous value, the current value, and the index, and also the array. All right, but in this case, for our example, we're gonna just calculate the sum of these numbers array. What we can do right here is numbers, actually previous plus current, and then it also accepts a second argument, which is an optional. So what is going on right here? So the reduce method, it is gonna reduce the array into a single value, and it accepts previous, current, the index, and also the array, and then the second argument of that is optional. So what is 0 right here? 0, if you pass in 0, then this is gonna be the value for this previous right here. Okay, let me actually change this to be, so the previous is 0 and the current is 1. In this case, 0 plus 1, that's equal to 1, and the next time the previous is going to be 1 and the current is going to be 2. So that way 1 plus 2, that's equal to 3. Now the previous is 3. Confusing? Let's first run this. Run that. You can see the return value is 15. So if you sum all of these up right here, 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 5, that's equal to 15. So this is how it worked. If I pass in this 10 right here, the value of prev, which is right here, the previous one, is going to be 10 this time. And if I run that, it should return 25. And run that, there we go. It is now 25. But what happens if I just get rid of that from here? So now run that is again 15. But how? Because this time the value of prev, it is not 0, which was this optional value that we passed that earlier right here. It's not 0. Actually, this is now 1, and the value of current is 2. So in this case, 1 plus 2, 3. And then the prev is going to be 3, and this is going to be the current. With 3 plus 3, that's 6, and it's going to go on till calculating all of these all together. All right, so I hope that it makes sense. So that was for the reduce function. And then down here we have the reduceRight function. So this is also basically the same as the above reduce method, but there is just one difference. That this time it's gonna take the current number from the right, and it's not gonna take it from the left as it did earlier, as it's actually known from its name too, reduceRight. So how I can prove that is if I just put it like this and then log the current right here. Then if I run that, you can now see that this time the value of current starts from here. So this is 4, 3, 2, 1. And why the 5 is not returning? Because now 5 is the value of priv. Let me just actually run that too. You can now see the value of 5 that is equal to priv. But then if I just pass in the second argument, which is 0, and run that, now you can see the value of current is 5 because priv is now 0. I hope that's not confusing. All right, so there it is. And down here, if I output the result, this should, what is wrong? Well, we are getting undefined, but why? Yeah, because this is not returned. Yeah. So that was it for the reduce and reduceRight. I hope that it's pretty clear, simple, and straightforward. And then there is this reverse method, which is going to reverse the array. For example, and then if I console.log arrayx.reverse, okay, and run that, now you can see it is reversed, starting from 25 down to 1 right here. It is just reverse, simple as that. All right, and then down here, then we have this slice method. Is basically like slicing fruit or vegetable. You can also slice the arrays. All right, so the slice method, this accepts the first argument as from where we want to slice. And now right here, alphabets.slice starting from 1 all the way 3. And then if I output that and run it, then now you can see that it's slicing from array index of 1 all the way to 3. But as you can see from the result, it's returning B and C and it's not returning D. And the reason for that is because this is exclusive. It is not inclusive. So therefore, this is how it's going to operate. And if you want to, for example, get rid of the last array element, how you can do that is pass in this negative value like that. All right, let's just make it 0 and run that. Now you can see this is how we can get rid of the last array element. All right, so the next method is this splice method. We use this to splice an array, add or remove array elements. Let's see that in action. For example, all right, so in here, at the position 2, add 2 elements, 0, 1, 2. So right here, we want to add 2 array elements. And how you can do that is fruits.splice at position 2, 0, and lm1, and then lm or the element 2. All right, so what is this 0 right here and 2? 2 is the starting position from where we want to add or remove array elements. In this case, at position 2, which is going to be 0, 1, and 2. There it is. And 0, it specifies how many of the array elements we want to remove. In this case, 0. We are not going to remove anything. And the lm1, which these elements of the array, so those are going to be added into that particular index number. If I output the fruits, now you can see that this is 0, 1, and 2. So at position 2, we added these 2 elements and we didn't remove anything. And then there is this next example that says that at position 2, add new item and remove 1 item. So this time we are adding 1 item and removing 1 item. Earlier we didn't want to remove, but now since we want to remove 1 item, we're going to replace 0 with 1. And then since we are not adding 2 items, then I'm going to get rid of that. And if I run that again, now you can see that this time it's a little bit different. Apple, orange, lm1, and you can see that this banana, which was the index number 2, removed it and added this new element, which is this element 1 right there. All right, and the last one is that at position 2, remove 2 items. So in this case 0, 1, and 2, and position 2, we want to remove 2 items, and we don't want to add any item this time. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this one and add 2 right there and run that. As you can see, now we only have this apple and orange. I hope that it's clear. The first element is the index of the array that we want to add or remove elements. The second one is the number of the array element that we want to remove. The third, fourth, and it accepts an arbitrary number of other array elements that we want to add that to the array. All right, so that was it for this splice method. And then the next method is the includes method. This is pretty much straightforward. It checks whether an array element is included within the array. For example, let me take this fruits from here, comment that, paste it. So this time, let's say output fruits dot includes. We're gonna check for orange if that exists. All right, output 12, and then let's run that. There we go. So it returns true because orange exists in here. Let's look for pear and run that. It returns false because that doesn't exist within the array. All right, so the next method is the sort method. So the sort method is used to sort an array. And I'm going to say nums.sort. There we go. And let's output this and run that. Okay, 1, 10, 3, 4, and 8. Well, you can see that is not sorting it. And the reason for that is because if I just, for example, right now remove 10 and let's actually put in here number right here, actually, I'm going to pass in 7 and run that. You can see that it is sorted. But as I put 10 right here and run that, you can see that is not sorted. The algorithm in here, it works as such that it is checking just the first one. So it is 1 and 1. It's not checking the 10 that it's 0. So for that, there is this actually compared function for the sort. And let's actually do that. I'm going to show you an A negative B. And now if I run that, now you can see that this time it is sorted perfectly fine. And this also works for an array of objects. So let me just go a little bit up right here. I believe there was an array of object for the findIndex method. And findIndex, there it is. So I'm gonna just copy this, comment this out. Should have commented this too so we don't get any error. All right, and then down here, so we sorted this array of numbers. All right, and then I'm gonna put this array example, which is the array of objects, and this time we want to sort based on date of birth. So you can see that this is slightly challenging, but actually what you could do is employees.sort and then pass in a.dob for date of birth, b.dob. And now let's output this employees and run that. So now you can see that this is sorted perfectly fine. This 1990, it goes all the way to the first one right here, and that is how it is sorted. It's ascending. But if you want this to be descending, then what you could do is a.dob and run that. Then there we go. Now this is descending sort. All right, so I hope that it is clear. Then here we have the push method, the pop method, shift, and the unshift method. All right, so let me actually output the fruits right here. So this is going to be the single output that you'll be using for all these 4 array methods, and use this fruit method, fruit array from here. So down there, just paste it right there. And this time instead of const, let's make it lit. So fruits.push, let's push a pear right here and run that. You can see that pear is pushed to the very end of that. All right, and now apple, orange, banana, melon, and the last one is pear. So it adds a new array, new item to the array at the end of that. All right, and then down here, then we have the pop method, which is going to remove the last element of the array or pop that out. All right, now fruits.pop. Earlier we added this pair, but then if I pop, this pair is gonna go away. Run that. Now you can see that it's gone. It's gonna remove the last element of the array. Then there is this shift method. Well, shift method, this removes the first item of the array. So if I have this, well, I'm gonna use that fruits method, fruits.shift, and then run that. Now you can see that earlier we had this apple right here. Let me actually comment this out so you can check that once again. There is the apple, but if you want to remove the first array of this element, there is the shift method that you can use, and now that is gone. Then the next method is unshift, that this is used to add new element to the beginning of the array. So just read it from the description. Fruits.add, well, unshift, and let's add the pear at the very beginning. Now you can see pear, orange, banana, and melon. All right, so that was it for the last array method. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notification for more such videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.